On the news tonight, Senate confirms appointment of members of the board of Niger Delta Development Commission. In business, EFCC, Federal Inland Revenue Service to strengthen collaboration in tackling tax evaders. And on the foreign scene, the U.S. Senate begins confirmation hearing for CIA Chief Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State. Good evening and welcome to Superscreen News at 8, reaching you live from Lagos. I am Olamide Onka. Many thanks for joining us. The Senate has confirmed the appointment of 3 members of the board of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. They are Chuka Wanwa, Lucky Orimisan, and Mwogu. The confirmation is based on the recommendations by the Committee on Niger Delta, whose report on the nominees was considered at the plenary today. The committee in the report recalled that it also dequalified 3 of the NDDC board members earlier nominated by President Muhammadu Buhari, which made the Senate to reject their appointment on October 6, 2017. The committee also recalled that President Buhari replaced the nominees in the confirmation request read in the chambers on April 11, 2017. The Senate has suspended Senator Ovie Omo Agege over 90 days after questioning the Senate on the Electoral Act amendment seeking to alter election sequence. This follows a representation of a report by Senate Ethics Committee, which recommended that Omo Agege be suspended for 180 days. However, the Senate resolved to reduce the length of his suspension and asked him to withdraw the court case instituted against the Senate.
The committee is of the opinion that the action by Senator Omo Agege of going to court after apologizing to the Senate was totally unacceptable, especially as an experienced lawyer, a member of the committee who is conversant with the modus operandi of the same, and therefore must be punished to serve as a deterrent to others who might contemplate taking the Senate to court over its internal matters. Recommendation: having carefully and fully exhausted all sides to the matter and the inherent implication therefrom for today and the future of the National Assembly, the committee recommends as follows. 1. That the Senate of Omo Agege be suspended for 181 legislative days from the date this resolution is taken.
The Senate also disbanded the parliamentary support group that Senator Omo Agege and embattled Senator Abdullahi Adamu belonged to.
For anybody to come here and go and give press conference and say that the Senate has taken a position against Mr. President, it is the most uncharitable thing anybody can do. It does not befit his office as a senator. But happily enough, Senator Omo Agege came here and had the courage to apologize over that statement. But it's much more than that. There are some sections in this country where you dare not talk against the president. And there are senators from that place. By implication is that he is putting the life of these senators at risk. A member of this family went to court, maybe in desperation, thinking a drastic action will be taken against him. For me, I will suggest that he withdraws the court action and we don't suspend him. Mr. President, let's focus on making ourselves each other's keeper.
Let Omo Agege withdraw his case from the court. Let those people that form this, whatever name they call it, let them dissolve it. And the president of this country, even if they don't, the president should tell them to dissolve it, because they are his greater enemies than even the people that are not in the what do you call it, in the group.
There must be discipline. That is the only way where the leader, I agree, there must be. We must show that such group must be suspended. The case in court also must be withdrawn. And in consideration of that, we can look at leniency on what is being recommended. Distinguished colleagues, what that is, I'll put for you to make a recommendation going forward. I think by that we'll have captured one, no more of these kind of groups in this Senate.
You will recall that Senator Omar Gigi had at a press conference insisted that the proposed change in the sequence of election is targeted against President Muhammadu Buhari as the 2019 general election approaches. Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, says Nigerian government will do all within its powers to ensure the conduct of a free, fair and credible elections next year. The AGF, who disclosed this in Abuja, said the country is mindful of the implication of a flawed election and is willing to ensure that elections are held in a manner that will not require the intervention of foreign agencies like the International Criminal Court. Malami also expressed Nigeria's concern over the ICC's decision to continue to entertain 8 cases relating to it and in connection with its handling of the problem of terrorism in the country. The Senate President, Bukola Saraki, says the Senate is committed to implementing the 35% action, which sees the inclusion of women in appointments and elective positions in government. Saraki, who disclosed this when he received a delegation of the Conference of Female Parliamentarians in Nigeria at the Senate House, said there is urgent need for a paradigm shift that will give room for women participation in the country's politics.
I know one of the key issues, of course, is the gender equality bill, that I know you will have had it quicker and faster than this. But I believe when these kind of major issues are being done, sometimes it looks as if it is taking longer than expected. But I believe that at the end of the day, it's the result that matters. And I think it's important that we ensure that every part of the country has our understanding. I always say that in legislation, sometimes, as you all know, you might go in with 10, 15 requests in a bill, but sometimes you negotiate and see, because it doesn't begin and end there. It's something you do in steps and strides. Get where we get to a point, and I think everybody is on board on this issue of gender affirmation of 35%, and we must strive to see that that happens in both in the area of appointment and elective as much as possible.
Reacting on this development, a cross-section of women parliamentarians spoke on the importance of the delegation's visit to the Senate.
We need greater political will from the policymakers, from the lawmakers, to be able to achieve the 35% affirmative action. And that's why we are here. Politicking has started now. And if we don't come now, before you know it, the men will take all the positions and they will leave us behind. A lot of us have done 3-4 times in the Houses of Assembly. We want to move up to the next level too. Of course. We are great planners, we are great thinkers, we are articulate, we are composed, we are focused, we are mothers. We want to grow Nigerian nation. We are not interested in corruption or destruction. We want to grow Nigerian nation. And that is why the conference of all Nigerian female state parliamentarians are here to let the Senate President know our mind.
We are a very strong group advocating for inclusion of women in elective and appointive positions in the country. You will agree with me that the diminishing effect of women participation in politics is even affecting the growth and development of Nigeria. And until women, there is a deliberate attempt by those policymakers or those who are in charge to make sure that women are given, are allowed, given free hands, free playing ground to contest and win election, and we have equal number of women and men in decision making. We will not improve in this slow space of development of Nigeria.
House of Representatives panel investigating the alleged violation of public trust, and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, says it will invite Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who doubles as the board chairman of NEMA, over the suspension of 6 of its directors. During a public hearing today by the House Committee on Emergency and Disaster Preparedness, the committee also decided to summon Ibrahim Mago, the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Commissions, and Winifred Oyoita, the head of civil service. You will recall that the Governing Council of NEMA, inaugurated on April 3rd, on the same day suspended 6 directors of the agency who were said to have kicked against the way of the NEMA, the EG is implementing contracts. And now the Federal High Court in Lagos has dismissed a no-case submission charge made by a senior advocate of Nigeria, Dele Belgore, and a money laundering charge brought against him and a former National Planning Minister, Abubakar Suleiman. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, accused them of money laundering. Belgore and Suleiman, through their counsel, Ebun Shofunde and Tunji Ayonlaja, said the prosecution did not make out a prima facie case against them. Suleiman aligned himself with Belgore's no-case submission, urging the court to discharge and acquit them. But the EFCC counsel, Rotimi Oyedebo, urged the court to dismiss the no-case submission. The Ijaw Youth Council, IYC, has called on the federal government to drop all corruption charges against the former Niger Delta leader, Ekumokpolo, also known as Tompolo. In a statement signed by the IYC president, Eric Omare, the group lamented the non-implementation of a 16-point demand presented to the federal government during a meeting to stop attacks by the Niger Delta Avengers, particularly the demand for the relocation of headquarters of oil companies operating in the region. IYC, while hailing President Muhammad Buhari over the commencement of academic activities at the Maritime University, urged the federal government to mobilize contractors working at the permanent site of the university to enable them go back to the site. And our report says gunmen have attacked and killed some people in Anka local government area of Zamfara state. The gunmen attacked a mining site at Kurukuru village and also ambushed some people from the neighboring Jakuruta village as they mobilized to bring help to Kurukuru. An eyewitness said Sadi Musa said that dozens of people were killed at the mining site on Wednesday evening, which forced the ministers to flee for safety. And the police public relations officer in the state, Mohammed Shehu, who confirmed the incident, said the police are aware of the attack but cannot give details until the commissioner is fully briefed. The Kwara Vigilante Group of Nigeria, VGN, has pledged to join forces with other security agencies in the efforts to fight crime in the state. The VGN commandant, Abdurrahim Jimo, who disclosed this to journalists in Ilorin, urged the police and other security agents to always carry the VGN officers along while deliberating on security matters. He also disclosed that the VGN are closer to the society because the people relate better with them anytime suspicious movement is noticed in the state. The National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, has appealed to Governor Rotimi Akeredolu to reverse recent increase in the tuition fees in state-owned institutions in the state. NANS National Public Relations Officer Bestman Okirafo said in a statement on Thursday in Enugu State that the reversal became necessary in the interest of the teeming indigent students. He said the recent increase in the tuition fees is alarming and beyond normal situation, adding that the development would be inimical to educational development of the state. Okirafo said students had been paying between 25,000 and 30,000 naira, but noticed that the fees had been increased to 120 and 180,000 respectively in the state-owned university. He urged the governor to address the situation in a way that will favor both parties involved in the case. Coming up on Superscreen News 8, EFCC and FIRS to strengthen collaboration in tracking tax evaders. These and many more stories coming to you after the break. Welcome back, and now for some business stories. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, have pledged to strengthen their collaboration to track both individuals and organizations who refuse to pay the right taxes. According to a statement by the head Communications and Servicom Department of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Wahab Badamosi, he said the partnership has led to the recovery of a sum of 29 billion naira withholding tax from banks and other financial institutions in the country between November 2017 and March 2018. The statement also disclosed that the partnership will also be searchlights on defaulting taxpayers who also refuse to embrace the government vague declaration scheme to offset their tax liabilities. Senate President Bukola Saraki says its committees must not continue to hold the country to ransom by their apparent refusal to submit their budget reports. This revelation is coming more than 5 months after the 2018 budget was presented to a joint session of the National Assembly by President Muhammadu Buhari. Saraki said he had no option than to openly name the subcommittees to ensure that the needful is done in the interest of the country. He also mandated the committees to ensure their reports are submitted to the Senate Appropriation Committee before Friday. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, says the Nigerian Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, rose by 13.34% in March 2018. According to reports, the Bureau said 13.34% rate for March is 0.99 percentage point less than 14.33% recorded in February. The report also confirmed that March made it the 14th consecutive month the country would be experiencing slowdown in inflation. Still talking business, the report says Nigeria's debt service cost and refinancing risk will rise with the issuance of a $2.5 billion Eurobond in the first quarter. Fitch Ratings, who disclosed this, said borrowing in foreign currency and international markets also expose sovereigns to foreign exchange refinancing risk and a potentially higher debt in the GDP. It also said the weak public financial management could increase the challenge of transitioning from concessional to commercial funding. Flour Milling Association of Nigeria, FMAN, made up of Dangote Flour Mills of Nigeria, Honeywell Flour Mill, Dufil, and Life Flour Mill have donated 50 units of multi-crop thresher machine worth 70 million naira to wheat farmers in the country. The group managing director, Dangote Flour Mills, Tabo Mabe, who disclosed this at the presentation of the machines in Lagos State, said the equipment will deepen mechanized farming and wheat production, increase volume of wheat produced, and reduce the cost in the market. The chairman, Flour Milling Association of Nigeria, John Kumontaros, who was represented by the group managing director, Flour Mills Nigeria PLC, Paul Badebo, also said the presentation is a demonstration of the association's commitment to continuously support wheat farmers and federal government's agriculture promotion agenda. Still ahead on Superscreen News at 8, the U.S. Senate begins confirmation hearing for the CIA chief Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State. That's on the foreign scene. These and many more stories coming after the break.